What'd you bring me?
Happy New Year, everybody. And with the new year comes new shows and movies. An endless shower of content. And let's just say I wasn't exactly optimistic for The Last of Us TV adaptation, after The Last of Us 2 being thrusted upon us.
You alright, kiddo?
What is wrong with you?
He had no right.
And you do? I don't need your fucking help, Joel.
Okay, fine. I'm cool. I'm fine.
But you know what? I went with the hell and watched the first episode of season 1. And by the end, I thought,
It's pretty good.
spoilers for The Last of Us show and game. We begin in 1968 with a talk show interview with Dr. Newman, played by John Hannah from The Mummy, and he's explaining his only fear when it comes to a global pandemic.
Not bacteria, not viruses, so
Fungus. Yes, that's the usual response.
As expected, it's laughed off at first. He continues.
Fungi seem harmless enough. Many species know otherwise, because there are some fungi who seek not to kill, but to control. Let me ask you, where do we get LSD from?
where do you get it from?
A fungus. Viruses can make us ill, but fungi can alter our very minds, like a puppeteer with a marionette. It keeps its puppet alive by preventing decomposition.
Dr. Schoenheiser, you're in distress.
Fungal infection of this kind is real, but not in humans.
True, fungi cannot survive if its host's internal temperature is over 94 degrees. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer? Well, now there is reason to evolve. Billions of puppets with poisoned minds, permanently fixed on one unifying goal. And there are no treatments for this, no preventatives, no cures. It's not even possible to make them.
So if that happens,
We lose.
This was a pretty good start that heads the episode, giving an almost sort of old Godzilla feel, where there were warnings long before the actual disaster occurred, but were simply ignored and or laughed off. Cut to a very cool intro credits that actually utilizes the theme from the game, composed by the guy who worked on the soundtrack of both games. Wasn't so hard to implement, was it, Paramount? 35 years later, and we see Sarah Miller waking her overworked and unorganized father Joel, played by... Hello, Pedro, my old friend. We can tell from their interactions that they're close, with the actors bouncing off of each other nicely. Sarah seems to almost be the parent when it comes to reminding Joel of certain things, even pointing out that his shirt is inside out.
Shit. I'm losing it.
During breakfast, we also get some background stuff happening in the world, i.e. an incident in Jakarta, Indonesia. Sarah, pickpocketing Joel's cash and broken watch, goes to school and later to a repair shop where in the background fire trucks and police cars race to an unknown location. At the neighbor's house, Sarah tends to Miss Adler and her mother's needs. And we get this scene.
Yeah. I likey.
Jets fly above while Sarah goes home to wait for her father. We then get the scene that starts the game with slight variations.
It's 10.
Oh no.
Scoot.
Monday at work, huh?
What are you still doing up? It's late.
Crud, what time is it?
It's way past your
But
bedtime.
it's still today.
They gave us the wrong size for the headers. That doesn't mean anything to you. I'm sorry.
Where's the cake?
Shh.
Come on, man.
I'll get us one tomorrow.
Swear. You don't get your present.
You got me a present?
Swear.
All my life.
Honey, please not right now. I do not have the energy for this.
Here,
What's this?
your birthday?
Wow.
Fixed it for you. You kept complaining about your broken watch. So I figured, you know. You like it?
Honey, this is... It's
What?
nice, but I think it's stuck. It's not...
What? No. Oh, ha ha.
Did you?
What?
I don't hear anything.
That was lame. You're lame.
Yeah, I know. Where'd you get the money for this?
this?
Drugs. I sell
hardcore drugs.
That's better than I do.
Good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
Yeah, you wish.
You'll see this pattern occur in the future with minor or accessible differences, which is good as The Last of Us' story is the best part of the game, and a great foundation to adapt from. Joel leaves the house to bail Tommy out of jail, leaving Sarah to sleep in her bed, waking up to an empty house with hovering helicopters. Sarah leaves to find the Adler's pooch, Mercy, outside the house, warning Sarah with nervous barking. Because, as we all know, dogs can sense the bullshit. Entering the Adler's home, we see an empty wheelchair just to the side, a hint of what we are about to discover. Sarah enters the kitchen to find blood, and...
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then.
Running outside, Joel and Tommy arrive, Joel seemingly knocking Miss Adler out with a wrench. He then drops it. This is really stupid, and I wish he didn't drop it. Hold on to the wrench. The stats on it are really high. We get, from Sarah's perspective, the ride from the backseat view. They pass...
God. It's Jimmy's place.
Rest in peace, Jimmy. You were one of the real ones.
Jimmy, I am warning you!
A family in need of a vehicle waits on the side of the road. Joel, much to Tommy and Sarah's dismay, orders Tommy to continue forward. This isn't shocking when taking into consideration the family dynamic.
Hey, you still alive, you old fucker?
Aw, he loves you.
He's dependent on me. Not the same.
Joel is the older brother in the end, and the one with a child, so Tommy heeds and drives ahead, leaving the helpless family behind. This tells us a lot about Joel's character, and was an essential scene from the game to adapt.
Keep driving, Tommy. Stop! You ain't seen what I seen. Someone else will come along.
Somebody else will come along.
After a plane crashes, causing the wreck of Tommy's truck, Joel manages to get himself and Sarah out when... That's inconvenient. Hate to be that guy, but in the game it went a little bit differently. Tommy held back a door to prevent infected from breaking in a building that itself was across the street from the river and the bridge, where the climactic scene happens. In this, a cop car barrels into the derelict, preventing Tommy from reaching his brother and niece. But he will eventually catch up with Joel. But as we see, he'd have to find another alley, go down a particular road where no zombiloids are present, and somehow find Joel. While of course this all happening while a plane just crashed on the boulevard, full of frantic running civilians. I mean, it's more dramatic, I guess. Holding off a horde is also quite dramatic, so... Anyway, one notices Joel and begins a chase. Joel doesn't close the doors behind him. I don't know. Kinda seems like you would at least once. All seems lost until a soldier shoots down the runner. But unfortunately, orders are orders, and the soldier is told to execute.
We are not sick!
One notable change from the game is that Joel actually has a bullet wound, which was a nice touch, and I also appreciate the soldier's regretful nature.
I'm sorry.
Please don't. No.
Oh no. Sarah. Move your hands, babe.
You're gonna be okay. All right. Baby, I gotta get you up, okay? I gotta get you up. All right? I know, baby. No, I know.
Tommy, help me!
Joel.
Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on.
We then cut to black, and the end of the prologue. All in all, not bad. I approve. Aside from changes that make things a bit contrived, or just done for the sake of dramatics, it was more or less what I expected. The memorable beginning, and the start of Joel's character arc. Other things to note is the little hints, such as the Nana being fed biscuits that might have been infected with viral cordyceps. A veteran sticker on Tommy's truck, indicating a past of military training. the student who coughs in class indicating they're infected. And all in all, the subtle acting choices done by the actors. I can tell Pedro Pascal is giving a sort of cheery Joel, which is done to contrast heavily with his future self. I do very much appreciate Sarah being the main perspective in this prologue, which no doubt fooled average viewers not familiar with the source material. As for what we can tell from 20 minutes into this episode, I wouldn't blame you if you figured Sarah would be the protagonist. But just like that, she dies, leaving the audience with a very shocking and heart-wrenching scene. 20 years later, we catch up with a graying Joel doing jobs to earn credits. He makes a deal with a Fedra soldier whom he's done business with in the past. He'll be important for later, so just keep him in mind. We find Tess held up with Robert, who ripped her off, a car battery to be specific. Robert is terrified of Joel finding out that his men jumped Tess, and she assures him that she'll explain the misunderstanding. And he agrees.
I'll tell him that I got jumped by some guys, and then you and I can just move the fuck on. Now your shit has pretty much ruined my week, and I'd like to go home and drink till my face stops hurting. So are we good?
That's a certified Aquaman moment right there. I believe this moment is supposed to be a version of when the Fireflies bombed a Fedra toll, but instead we get an explosion on the street just above the basement where Tess was. She, along with an absentee Robert, are the only ones to survive the blast, and this leads to her being arrested by Fedra agents, who are still being fired upon by a lone Firefly.
They're shooting! They're shooting at us!
On your knees!
No, I'm not a...
This was a pretty redundant scene, and if you needed to have a scene where a bombing happens near our protagonists, just do it how the game does it. Tess going through a checkpoint but needs to go the long way, after it's closed due to a raid. It makes more sense than just a random street where a lone Firefly vehicle is? I don't know. Would have been on my cutting room floor, to be honest. We then see a wound-up, snarky, chained-up little girl who's giving her captors a hard time as they test her acuteness.
7, 8, fuck you.
Yep, that's Ellie. Doesn't look like Ellie, but from this introductory scene alone, I can see Bella Ramsey doing a pretty good job impersonating Ellie. She's not the best, and at times comes off as a bit too aggressive.
Let me out or you're gonna pay, motherfuckers!
You my fucking mom or something?
Asshole!
Just a minute, alright?
What the fuck?
But passable nonetheless. Joel visits a man who sends and receives coded messages and asks about Tommy. For 3 weeks, Tommy's been radio silent, much to Joel's dismay.
Show me where the tower is.
All this open country? There are worse things than infected out there. There are raiders. There are slaves.
But you're sure Tommy's okay?
The man confirms where in Wyoming to start, leading Joel to return home, pills and drink in hand, and traces a road to Wyoming. Tess is unable to quell Joel from being understandably upset with not having a car battery, and having his friend beat up by Robert's boys. He's eager to save his brother, whom he does assume is probably going to die without him. So they set off to find Robert, and promptly put a bullet in his head. On to Marlene confronting Ellie, who reveals to the chained-up girl that she was the one to put Ellie in a Fedra military school. I'm sure we'll get an explanation later, because... what? Assuming Marlene knew her from, 2009 when she was born? She'd have to know Ellie's mom, and were they just lone wolves not affiliated with anyone? Why not have Ellie be raised and trained as a Firefly? Well, we get an answer to that question.
Because it's where you'd be safest.
And you were safe there until you decided to sneak out.
What? I bring this question up because after a moment of bewilderment leads Ellie to ask if Marlene's her mother, she doesn't ask how she knew her or her parents, whom, well, she would definitely want some answers on.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you.
You have no idea. idea what loss is.
But you know what? We may just get that answered, as we will get an inevitable flashback to Ellie at the mall. So we'll just leave a pin in that. Boop! We then get Joel and Tess sneaking through to intercept Robert, who's already dead, after a skirmish with the Fireflies. Now Marlene, wounded with a bullet hole, left with the original buyers of the now destroyed battery, is desperate to make a new deal. Promises to give Joel and Tess a new battery and more if they deliver Ellie west to a rendezvous in the city. Joel needs this to get to his brother, so him and Tess begrudgingly accept, Ellie being less than thrilled with being handed over to 2 other total strangers. Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that? You just draw more attention to you. Don't do that. We then get a scene that almost one-for-one replicates another pretty good moment from the game.
What are you doing?
Killing time.
What am I supposed to do?
I'm sure you'll figure that out.
What are you doing?
Killing time.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I am sure you will figure that out.
Your watch is broken.
Your watch is broken.
He still wears his broken watch. I can believe that he hasn't taken it off since. In the cover of darkness, they set off but are found out by Fedra guards, just like in the game. Or, well, one guard, and...
You gotta be shitting me.
Ooh boy, that's a mighty convenient inconvenience. The one guy in the one place at that specific time just so happens to be the guy that Joel does deals with. Well, it goes the way one might have expected. Not well.
Fucking mine.
The soldier aims his gun towards Ellie, Joel standing in the way. The soldier doesn't shoot Joel, instead asks for him to step aside, probably because of their past interactions. We then get Joel unable to step aside because of this very similar situation involving his daughter. We then get a few seconds of flashbacks to that very event. I didn't need that. I got that. Thanks. I remember. Joel then closes the distance and beats the Fed to a pulp.
Uh-oh.
Run!
Go!
But grab the assault rifle. The assault rifles, please. No. There were rifles there. No.
Joel, we gotta move. We gotta move, Joel!
Based.
The episode then closes out with the trio escaping deeper into the city, alarmed with the knowledge of Ellie's positive result to the infection. Cut to credits.
I clapped when I saw it.
Besides from a couple of Tisme moments, this episode was pretty solid. A great introduction with solid world building, clever cinematography, and compelling acting from most of the cast. The glaring issues are the changes that cause slightly, and at times, major conveniences. Other than that, I'm pretty pleased so far. However, this could all end up horribly. Disastrously, even. I believe we could have a pretty good show, and for once, show some professionals that video games, and specifically video game stories, have merit. And it all comes down to respect.
Show some respect.
Adaptations of video games and their stories are almost always leaning towards the shit side. Besides the few gems like Arcane, there aren't many that treat their source material with the earnest appreciation it deserves. Many disrespect and disregard the past and IP in which they take, distort, and make their own. So, TLDW, hey, you want to see something cool? I recommend HBO's The Last of Us, Episode 1. Hopefully this can make a difference with regards to honoring the mythos, respecting the fanbase, and developing quality content. Or it can suck. Either way, that's it from me. I'm not sure if I'll be covering every episode. Maybe down the line if one is exceptional or hideously awful, I might consider. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of me covering the show. And as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate your guys' patience. I will see you guys in the next one.